Hey there! I'm trying something a little new today. I am going live on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. And so I'm really excited to have this opportunity to connect with you about boundaries and why it is so much better to set boundaries in the new year instead of setting resolutions. So that's where we are going today. So, welcome. And if this is your first time joining me, welcome to my traditional Thursday Facebook Live. I'm here every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, and I'm going to be going live on Facebook and Instagram from now on. So, welcome. I see you're all coming on in. You're saying hi. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to be with you as we are stepping into the new year. And as I was saying, we're going to talk about why it is better to set boundaries instead of resolutions. Why setting boundaries is actually a more rewarding practice and a more self-affirming practice than setting resolutions. So this is the way you are going to actually find that your boundaries are better tools for you to help you reach and achieve the goals that you are striving for, because they help you define what you want first and foremost. So let me simply say that when you're looking at boundaries, let's all get on the same page about our definitions. Our boundaries are simply the limits that we're setting around what we will or will not do, will or will not tolerate, and will or will not accept. So our boundaries are very personal. Our boundaries are our own limits that we're setting for ourselves. And so what happens is our boundaries are helping us define what we want, and we are also determining exactly what we need to stay within those bounds. So many people relate to boundaries as being some way in which we tell other people what they can or cannot do. That we think boundaries are about the ways that other people need to change or the ways that other people need to respond or react to us. And the beautiful the beautiful aspect of boundaries that I want to share with you here is that boundaries are what move you out of being a victim, what move you out of being in that place of blame, and transport you into the space of taking responsibility and being empowered to create the future that you want. We have so much more power to create our future than we give ourselves credit for. And so this is where I want to support you in going as we move into 2021. Listen, it's been said over and over, 2020 threw us for a loop, right? But as we move into 2021, we get to do so being more grounded and being more intentional and being more deliberate about taking care of ourselves. That's really what boundaries are about. Boundaries are the way that we can carefully choose and consciously curate what we want to incorporate into our lives and what we want to release. So we're always looking at what do we want to eliminate and what do we want to integrate so that we are creating the container that serves us best. And in order to do so, in order to set our boundaries, we have to know our own limits. We have to begin to look within to really take note, take stock of what happens when I start to consider my own needs. And I'm going to invite you here, even if it feels a little scary, to give yourself permission to consider yourself and your own needs at least as much as you are considering the needs of everybody else. So just breathe into that as I share that with you. What if you really could give yourself permission to consider your own needs at least as much as you're considering everyone else in your life. So I'm seeing your comments here. I'm doing my best to look at the Instagram, to look at the Facebook. Hi Danita, honey. Hi Reenie. Hi Laura. Happy New Year. Hi Robin. Happy New Year. I'm so glad that you love the idea of setting boundaries and not resolutions in the new year. So again, we're looking at the ways. Oh yes, Kelly, I see you just wrote here. Thank you. I need permission. I want to support you in learning how to give yourself permission to put yourself first. And notice what the stories are that you tell yourself about that. Are you telling yourself that's too selfish? And if that's what you're saying, I am here to celebrate you, because I am on the bandwagon to help you reclaim your selfishness. Selfish, self-love, and self-care are three sisters whose job it is to support us in honoring ourselves. So the first step here is, again, giving yourself permission to consider yourself and your own needs at least as much as you're considering the needs of everybody else. And then from there, I'm going to support you in setting your boundaries in ways that you are able to consider your own needs even more than you're considering the needs of others. And then ultimately, and this is what I call the real boundary ninja move, consider yourself and your own needs first before you consider the needs of everybody else. And I really want you to get that selfish is a good thing. We have spent so much of our energy and so much of our lives disowning selfish. And so I really want to support you in knowing that it is safe, it is good to be selfish. And that if you feel the guilt arising around taking care of yourself and taking care of your own needs, here's what I want you to know. Guilt is the indicator that you are on the right track. Guilt is the indicator that you are taking care of yourself in this context. So when the guilt arises because you're actually looking at what you need to do for you instead of everybody else, the guilt is here to tell you you are honoring yourself. Okay, so hi Yvette, hi Natasha, welcome, welcome. So I want to take a look at a few things with you and make this really actionable and practical for you as we head on into 2020. So again, we all know what happens when we set resolutions. This idea of we often use our resolutions to then later beat ourselves up. And so I don't want you ever to use anything I share with you to beat yourself up. I want you to use everything I share with you to create the life for yourself that you're envisioning, to really step in and inhabit your own life so you're no longer living someone else's life and that you are being true to you. So one thing I'll add to what I was sharing before. When I was saying give yourself permission to consider your own needs at least as much as everyone else, then more than, and then first, notice if in your mind you heard me say anything about don't consider the needs of others, because I never said anything of the sort, and I never will. I'm simply inviting you to consider yourself also, instead of putting yourself on the back burner. So it's not an either or, as so many of us create a construct around it. It's a both and. I can consider my own needs and care for the needs of others. And by setting boundaries, I'm taking charge of my own life instead of leaving my fate up to someone else. That's why boundaries are not about wanting someone else to change. Boundaries are not about telling someone else what they can and cannot do. Boundaries are simply about me knowing my limits, me knowing what's okay or not okay for me, and then being really clear about how I'm going to take care of myself to stay within the bounds. So if we start looking at your life, if we start looking at what's happening moving into the new year, instead of simply saying, this year I resolve to, or, I resolve to drink less or exercise more or spend more time on self-care or whatever it is that we set up, we resolve to doing this. What if we actually can change the language around looking at the specific areas of our life where we will benefit where we will benefit from setting better boundaries with ourselves or with others. If we simply start by looking at the big pie of our life and recognizing the areas in our life where we know we'll benefit from setting better boundaries. Because here's the thing, resolutions often come out sounding very restrictive, constrictive, restraining. And what often happens is I hear people relate to boundaries that way. I think of boundaries as a way, as a wall. Or if I set boundaries, I'm a bitch. And here's the deal, boundaries are expansive. As I said before, boundaries are expansive. Boundaries are the way that we are consciously curating the content of our own life. I love that. Wisdom of the light, I see you here. I don't feel bad about it anymore, and I'm much happier with healthy boundaries for me. Yes, this is the key. I'm telling you. This is why the book I wrote is called Setting Boundaries Will Set You Free. Boundaries are the gateway to your freedom. I promise you this. So start by simply identifying for yourself a few areas of your life where you will be able to benefit from setting better boundaries. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's in the area of relationships. Maybe it's around money, career, whatever it can be. Start looking at those areas. Hi, Christina. I see you say boundaries with self is something I need to work on. Yes, boundaries with self really set us up to know that we can trust ourselves. Set us up to know that we are going to be good stewards for what's most important to us. Kathleen, this is so timely. I'm so glad. And I'm seeing boundaries are expansive. Yes. And then I see also here Wisdom of the Light saying, especially with family. Yes, especially with family. So then for each of these areas you identified, so whether it is family or health or self-care, whatever it is, for each of these areas, identify the specific boundary that you need to set. And I want you to make it a beginner boundary. So in my book, Setting Boundaries Will Set You Free, I talk about beginner, intermediate, and then bottom line boundaries. So I want you to first start out with looking for a beginner boundary that you can set, and one that will make your life significantly better. Significantly better. If you set this boundary and you are doing it in the spirit of benefit as opposed to restriction or restraint or deprivation. So Kelly Happy TKLK. I see that. I feel I start and do good, then fall back and lose it all. Exactly. So that's why I was saying before, I don't want you to use any of this to beat yourself up. I want you to use this in ways that you are constantly supporting the benefit. So if you are looking at the benefit, so for example, one of my non-negotiables, and that's something we're talking about when we're talking about boundaries, are non-negotiables. One of my non-negotiables is meditating every morning. So I feel great about committing to 7 days a week because, first of all, I've been doing it for years, so I know it's something that's realistic and doable, something that I can do. One of the mistakes we often make in setting our boundaries or setting our non-negotiables is setting something too lofty. So I'll always bring you back to, are you identifying something that is realistic, that is achievable, that is doable, that's bite-sized? So it might for you be, for example, not meditating 7 days a week, maybe it's meditating 4 days a week. And I'm just using meditation as an example. You can sub out anything you want. So what then happens is, as we anchor in the non-negotiable, we are doing two things that might sound counterintuitive. So I'm creating a container for myself where upon waking, I'm at the same time not choosing and choosing. So let me explain. I'm setting up a container and a construct for myself where the first thing I do upon waking is meditating. So I don't actually think about it. I don't consider, do I feel like meditating? Do I want to meditate today? Maybe I'll meditate later. I don't really feel like meditating. I've set up a rhythm for myself where upon waking, the next thing I do after I pee, the next thing I do is meditate. There's no discussion in my head of should I or shouldn't I. So because I've already made how do I want to say, like a precursor choice of I'm going to meditate every day, I don't have to make the choice on a daily basis. I can simply show up for the choice I made earlier. So we want to be looking at, this is why it's important to remember about the benefit. If the goal is, I know I feel best when I meditate daily. I know I feel best when I spend at least 20 minutes on my cushion. I know I feel best. Why would I choose something that doesn't have me feel good? Why wouldn't I choose what does have me feel good? And again, I don't need to make the choice every single morning. I just need to remember to serve the choice I made earlier. That's how we start showing up for ourselves. Pat, sleep. It's been so difficult getting sufficient amount of sleep during the pandemic. It sets tone for how I handle everything every day. I am with you. I agree. I've had the lovely pleasure of having menopause and the pandemic happen at the same time, which is really wonderful for sleep issues, let me tell you. Allison, hi Nancy, I've been following you for a while now, but this is my first Facebook Live. Yes, I believe in setting boundaries. Everyone needs to work on this as we grow and change. Yes. So we want to start setting up for ourselves these non-negotiables where we don't have to be constantly choosing. This is what happens when we set good boundaries. When we set healthy boundaries and we get in the spirit of setting good boundaries, we're no longer setting boundaries every minute, every day. We are simply living in a space where we are naturally naming and claiming what works best for us. So we're not having to constantly set the boundary. Rather than that, we're simply living in a way where our boundaries are more naturally set. Hi, Allison. Thank you, Nancy. As you are talking, I just eliminated Friday afternoons from my client availability calendar. It's for the best of all for me to have time to reflect and plan on Fridays. I love this. And I love you. Happy New Year, honey. That is awesome. Yeah. So these are the non-negotiables. Start looking at what works best for you. What works best for you is going to work best for everyone else, even if that sounds counterintuitive. I promise you, I'm telling you the truth. If it works best for you, it's going to be the best thing for your family, for your relationships, for your business, all of it. So again, look at what you want to create in these different areas of your life and what are the limits you need to set around your time? What are the limits you need to set around your energy? What are the limits that you need to set around your intention, around your attention? Write out the boundaries. Write out the boundaries with self, with others. Write them out, whether it's boundaries with self or boundaries with others. The boundaries with self might be, when I go out with friends, even though we're not really going out in the pandemic, but when I'm having a Zoom drink with friends, let's say it that way. When I'm having a Zoom drink with my friends, I'm only going to have one glass of wine. If I feel the desire to have more, I'm actually going to look at a Post-it note where I've written this commitment down to myself. And remember, I'm going to feel better tomorrow morning if I only have one glass of wine tonight. Think about the benefit. Think about what's ahead of you. When I hear myself saying negative things, I'm going to pull out a picture of myself as a child and remind myself that I deserve loving compassion. Boundaries with others might sound, like I feel frustrated and taken for granted when someone else in my house isn't washing the dishes or doing the laundry or doing the other things. And I'm going to make a request, moving forward. Are you willing to do these things to support me and help me out? It's always going to start with expressing how I feel. So, I feel angry and uncomfortable when your brother makes racist comments. And I'm letting you know ahead of time that if you plan to connect with your brother, I'm going to stay home. That's a way I'm going to say what's okay for me, and I'm going to stay home, and I'm not telling you what to do or not do. And so these are the important things. Hi, Michael. Such a great reminder for me as I step into 2021. I will spend time today doing this. Thank you. You are very welcome. And yes, Ramsey, boundaries even on my phone. Exactly. Yes. Boundaries even around your phone. Yes. Adriana, Nancy, hi. How do we be consistent in meditating in a relationship, saying good morning, seeing our partner off to work? Sometimes their energy is heavy or negative. So here's the big deal. Here's the big thing. We want to stay clear and true to our own energy and not pick up the energy of the people around us. That's codependency. Checking someone else's weather to see what my weather is, checking in with someone else's mood, and then mood matching. So if your partner is in a heavy mood, you get to acknowledge their mood, but it doesn't mean that you have to shift your own energy. You get to stay where you are. That's how to really conquer codependency. Not looking for someone else to regulate us emotionally, but rather regulating ourselves. So the way that we keep consistency in a relationship is simply letting our partner know, hey, just letting you know from here on out, every morning at this time, I'm going to go in the other room and I'm going to meditate for half an hour. And then I'll come out when I'm ready. I'm going to go in the other room and paint. I'm going to go in the other room and dance. I'm going to go in the other room and journal. I'm going to go out for a walk. Whatever it is. And you're not asking permission. You're informing. Hey, just letting you know, here are the things I need to do for me. And when I'm ready to return, I will. It's as simple as that. Part of the reason so many of us don't set boundaries, there's two things I found out for myself. Hey, I wrote the book because we all teach what we need to learn, right? So for myself and for the thousands of clients I've coached, A, we don't set boundaries because we don't know what to say. And B, we don't set boundaries because we are afraid of conflict. And here's the deal. When we're fearing conflict, we are not necessarily fearing, we're not necessarily fearing, a confrontation or a fight in the present moment. What we're really fearing is the underlying conflict that is impacting the relationship as a whole. And we don't want to actually look at what we might need to change in order for that relationship to be better or to extract ourselves from the relationship. So we stay on that surface of avoiding conflict. We think the goal of relating is harmony at all cost. And I'm here to tell you it's not. The goal of relating is freedom and truth and love. The goal of relating is not harmony at all cost, because when we're gunning for harmony at all cost, it comes at a very high cost, and it comes at a very high cost to us. So it's about being able to step in to truth. Yes. So again, take some time, and I would say maybe three boundaries that you're willing to set moving into the new year to support you, to energize you, to invigorate you, to benefit you. Not about restriction, not about deprivation, but about the benefit. So the benefit for health, the benefit for mental health, for physical health, for well-being. What are the boundaries that you're willing to set? And again, keep it realistic. So for me, I know one of the things is, because I am a meditator, I know it's easy for me to set a boundary around my meditation time every day, 7 days a week. It's something I've been doing for years. That's a no-brainer for me. So I can simply say, I'm going to meditate seven days a week every morning. And I know what sets me up for that. What sets me up best for that is every night I go to bed with my phone on airplane mode. So when I wake up in the morning, and if I look at my phone for the time or I use the Insight Timer meditation app, no notifications show up. In other words, there's nothing coming in at me from the outside world when I wake up in the morning. That for me has been a game changer. So I wake up, I go to my meditation app, I hit the button, I meditate, and when I am ready to let the world in, I do. One of my other non-negotiables is journaling, but I also know that there have been times in my life I've journaled every morning, and there have been times in my life I've not. So this year, moving forward, I'm setting a boundary. I'm setting a non-negotiable around journaling 3 mornings a week. So if I under promise and over deliver, that's great. But I'm not going to set myself up for 7 days a week, knowing that it's highly likely I won't follow through on 7 days a week for the journaling. But I will follow through probably on 5. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and set it for 3. So again, use whatever activity or whatever practice or process you want to insert and swap out for meditating or journaling, for example. So I'm going to say 7 days a week, non-negotiable meditation, 3 days a week, non-negotiable journaling. And then I'm a big hiker. So I'm going to say, let's say 4 days a week hiking. Now, again, highly likely that I'll hike 5 or 6 days a week, but I'm going to say 4 so that I give myself the opportunity to under promise and over deliver for myself. So play with this for yourself. Boundaries can be malleable. Boundaries can shift and change as you go, as long as you're not letting yourself off the hook. But you also want to be assessing and reassessing and recalibrating to what feels true and right for you. So don't adhere to something just because you committed to it. Adhere to it because you know there is the benefit you will reap. That's what makes the difference. That's the shift in mindset. Karen, great strategy, airplane mode on the phone overnight. I'm telling you, it is one of the biggest game changers in my life, going to bed with my phone on airplane mode. Yeah. And then Reni's saying, Pat, I can relate. I can tell you the boundaries have worked so well in my life because once I set them, all I have to do is maintain them. It takes the thinking out about it right out. Exactly. Yes. And then Robin said, as a conflict avoider, that statement about relationship goals is so enlightening. Yes, exactly. So Pat is saying, I'm a highly sensitive person. It's so difficult staying focused on my boundaries versus overthinking. Meditation doesn't cover me 24/7. Yeah, and then I saw that Rini responded there. So again, we're looking at micro actions, micro boundaries, small things, bite-sized, achievable, realistic, doable that you can adhere to because you know the benefit that awaits you on the other side. This is not about punishing. This is not about deprivation. This is not about restriction. This is not about constriction. This is about expansion. This is knowing that what I do, every choice I make, every action I take moves me into the direction of my desire. Every choice you make either serves you or sabotages you. So we want to consciously make the choices that continue to serve us. Continue to serve us. Let me see. I'm seeing Adriana said, that's my issue, not knowing what to voice. In a previous relationship, he put his child's mom first. He tried to be harmonious until I couldn't anymore. So what boundary do you need without sounding needy or jealous? Some things I was fine with, other things are not. So here's the deal. It's not about whether you sound needy or jealous, because the more you try to push away needy or jealous, the more you're inviting and attracting and being a magnet for needy and jealous energy. So it's about embracing and owning and accepting needy and jealous, and from that place, naming what you need and how you're going to take care of yourself, what you're going to do. Again, boundaries are not about expecting anyone else to change. Boundaries are about the way that you're going to take care of yourself. Adriana, any suggestions for setting boundaries around social media distraction? 2 hours passing on. Yep. So one thing that I do, I'm a big fan of setting a timer. Set your timer on your phone for 20 minutes. When it goes off, you're done. for example. I know that there are with many of the smartphones ways that you can actually program it to turn off social media apps after a certain amount of time. You might want to play around with that as well. But I personally am a big fan of a timer. So I set a timer for doing everything in my life. I need to write a blog, I set a timer. I need to write, I need to work on some copy, I set a timer. I need to pack a suitcase, I set a timer. I need to do laundry, I set a timer. Whatever it is, I'm a big timer person. So it works with social media too. It works with anything like that. Michael, any thoughts on how to stop creating distractions like Facebook or busy work so you don't honor your boundaries? Yeah, so part of it is really staying in conversation with yourself as you notice that listen, we all go into sort of an unconscious distraction, but we also go into conscious distraction. And then it's about what do I not want to feel? I mean, that's really why we procrastinate. We procrastinate because we don't want to feel something. We don't want to feel whatever it is. So we numb ourselves out. So it's about paying attention to the avoidance strategy. Facebook, busy work, exercise, work, endless scrolling, all of that, drinking, eating. I'm not saying any of these things are bad, but what I'm saying is when we do them as an avoidance strategy so that we don't have to feel or deal, that's what we want to start paying attention to. So literally, the moment that you catch yourself zoning out, the moment you catch yourself in that zone of distraction, ask yourself the question, what is it that I don't want to feel or deal with right now? That question can change everything. Just getting aware. What is it that I don't want to feel or deal with right now? And see what happens. I think you just great, Michael. I'm so glad. Adriana, thank you, Nancy. I'm going to reread your books. Much love to you too. Much love to you too. So Joyce, you asked the question, what about a boyfriend who spends endless time on Facebook? So again, this is not about changing someone else's behavior, but this is about letting someone know the impact on you. I feel disregarded when you spend so much time on Facebook. My request is when we're together that you leave your phone, you leave your phone in airplane mode or you have your phone across the room. You can make requests when you're dealing with reasonable people. That's an important point here. You can make requests when you're dealing with reasonable people. You can't make requests from narcissists. You can't make requests from unreasonable people. So if it's a reasonable person, you can make a request. If it's not a reasonable person, you can simply say, I feel disrespected when you spend so much time on your phone or on Facebook when we're together. I'm letting you know moving forward, if we're together and you pick up your phone, I'm going to make a choice to go into the other room and spend some time by myself. But then here's the deal. If you say that, you have to do it because we teach people how to treat us. And if we don't do what we say, we're just the little girl or little boy who cried wolf. Okay, my dears, my goodness, this was so rich and I love spending this time with you. Like I said, in the new year, I'm going to be going live on Facebook and Instagram at the same time together moving forward. I look forward to being with you there. And I've got a really exciting free coaching experience coming up in January, a 7-day coaching experience around my transformation equation method. So be on the lookout. You'll be hearing about it soon. Sign up, tell all your friends. This is the way you are going to be able to begin 2021 putting yourself at center stage of your own life. All right, loves, so sweet to be here with you today. Looking forward to reconnecting in 2021.